So by all indications, famine is imminent in north of Gaza, where there are 300,000 people. But this is not to say that we cannot avert this situation. But in order to do that, we must act, and we must act now. We need full access, we need large quantities of food, and we need the ability to reach people where they are and provide them with this food as soon as possible. If we can do this, our hope is we can still avert a full-fledged famine. But the window is shutting, and it is shutting very, very fast. So as humanitarians, we work not when there is a famine. We work to avoid a famine. Why? Because when famine happens, people have already starved, children are already wasted, and many, many, many lives are already lost. So let's act before a full-fledged famine is confirmed than to wait. Oh, there is time because there is a famine not confirmed. That's not how it works.
Outside a warehouse in Gaza City, crowds of Palestinians clamour for aid. But the meagre supplies currently reaching the enclave are nowhere near enough to sustain a population that a UN-backed report says is weeks away from famine. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, said on Monday that it expects famine to hit the north of the Gaza Strip between now and May, and that the number of people experiencing catastrophic hunger has risen to 1.1 million. That's around half of the population. Here's UN Chief Antonio Guterres.
Palestinians in Gaza are enduring horrifying levels of hunger and suffering. This is the highest number of people facing catastrophic hunger ever recorded by the Integrated Food Security Classification System anywhere, anytime. This is an entirely man-made disaster, and the report makes clear that it can be halted.
5 months of war have shattered the Palestinian territory, killed thousands, and cut off supplies. The Global Hunger Monitor said shortages in parts of the Gaza Strip have already far exceeded famine levels, adding that mass death is now imminent without an immediate ceasefire and a surge of food into areas cut off by fighting. Also on Monday, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said Israel is provoking a famine, a claim Israel rejects.
Starvation is used as a weapon of war. Yes, starvation is used as a weapon of war. Let's say that.
The IPC report came as Israeli forces launched a major overnight assault on battered Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital, based on intelligence that the building was being used by senior Hamas leaders. Israel's army released this footage of what they say is a gun battle between their military and Hamas fighters. Reuters was able to confirm the location in this part of the video, but was not able to independently verify the date when the footage was filmed. Israel said it had killed 20 Hamas fighters, including a senior Hamas commander, Fayek al-Mabhou, in the hospital. It has repeatedly said it does not target civilians and is only interested in eliminating the militant Islamist group. Palestinian health authorities said the attack caused multiple casualties and set off a fierce fire in one of the buildings. The prospect of a man-made famine in Gaza has sparked the strongest criticism of Israel from Western allies since it launched its war against Hamas militants following their deadly attack on Israeli territory on October 7th. Israeli tallies say Hamas killed 1,200 people in its attack and seized 253 hostages. Israel's military assault on Hamas-governed Gaza has flattened the enclave and, according to Gaza's health ministry, killed over 31,000 people. It has also led to accusations of genocide being probed in the World Court.
The latest report on food insecurity in Gaza is an appalling indictment of conditions on the ground for civilians.
A United Nations-backed food security report says famine is looming by May in the Gaza Strip, and that parts of the enclave have already far exceeded famine levels. But what is famine, and who declares one? Famine is assessed by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC. an initiative of more than a dozen UN agencies, regional bodies, and aid groups. In a famine, food shortages are followed first by widespread malnutrition and then mass deaths. For the IPC to declare famine, at least 20% of the population must be suffering extreme food shortages, with 1 in 3 children acutely malnourished and 2 of every 10,000 people dying daily from starvation, malnutrition, and disease. The number of people facing catastrophic hunger in the Gaza Strip has reached 1.1 million, the IPC said Monday. That's about half the population, and double the figure deemed at risk in December. The IPC said malnutrition is probably already at famine levels. It did not have enough data on death rates in Gaza, but estimated residents would be dying at famine scale imminently. It said children under 4 may already be. Gaza health authorities have reported children dying of malnutrition or dehydration, but the collapsing health system has made the situation hard to monitor, UN officials say. The UN views Israel as the occupying power in Gaza and says it has a responsibility to facilitate humanitarian operations. Under the 1949 Geneva Conventions on the Laws of War, the occupying power, quote, has the duty of ensuring the food and medical supplies of the population. Israeli leaders have long argued that Gaza and the West Bank are not formally occupied on the basis that they were captured from Jordan and Egypt during the 1967 war, rather than from a sovereign Palestine. Israel also stresses the Jewish people's historical and biblical ties to the land. Hamas fighters launched an attack on Israel on October 7th that killed about 1,200 people and seized 253 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Israel retaliated by imposing a total siege and assault on Gaza that has since killed more than 31,500 Palestinians, Gaza health authorities say. The UN Palestinian Refugee Agency says the number of aid trucks permitted to enter Gaza has dwindled. In February, an average of 97 trucks were entering a day, well below the target of 500 daily. The United Nations has described aid access as unpredictable and insufficient, blaming military operations, insecurity, and extensive restrictions to delivery of essential supplies. Israel blames the United Nations for delivery issues, saying limitations on the quantity and pace of aid are dependent on the capacity of the UN and other agencies. A declaration of famine does not trigger any formal response, but it can help focus global attention. Famine has been declared just twice in the past 13 years, in Somalia in 2011 and in South Sudan in 2017. But as one UN office noted, once a famine is declared, it is too late for too many people.
Hunger in the Gaza Strip is spreading, and this is completely man-made. It is hitting a region which in the past has never ever experienced hunger, and today no one escaped to this in the Gaza Strip. You heard last week that UNICEF indicated that the acute malnutrition among the children under 2 has doubled within 1 month, despite the fact that we keep warning that hunger is spreading and we need to scale up and beef up our humanitarian response.
It would be a really difficult scenario for us to envisage the possibility of hundreds of thousands of people being forced from Rafah because of the incursion to go to other areas. We are not in a position to contingency plan that. We're not in a position to pre-position shelter material, food, medical supplies, and especially water during this very, very hot period. So it will be a real problem for us.